This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
As promised, the man, the myth, the legend, that is Chris Perkins from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Perk, how you doing, baby?
Feeling good? I'm good, man. I don't have my background set up here, so I'm in a new spot in the apartment, man. So excuse the little mess here.
You're good, bro. It's all good. You got the info and the opinions, and that's all that really matters right now, my man. So give me an opinion. When is this defense going to get on track? What is it with Fangio and the scheme? What does he have to do to get the players on the same page?
Big O, people have poo-pooed my opinion on this. I think it's probably going to be until Thanksgiving. And here's my thought on that. You don't have Jalen Ramsey. You haven't had Jalen Phillips for 3 games. You're still kind of figuring out what everybody can do in their roles. And look, we know that they're going from an 8-man front to 2 deep safeties. We know they're going from man to zone. We know they're not blitzing as much. So these guys are trying to figure out, what does Vic Fangio want us to do, and how do we put our skill set to best use within this system? They don't know yet, Big O. They just don't know yet. And they're figuring this thing out as they go. I don't think it's a big deal if it takes until Thanksgiving, because look, to me, it's all about that last stretch of the season, right? Where you have 4 of your last 5 games at home. You figure they're going to be fighting for the number 1 seed at that time, right? They're going to be fighting for the AFC East title. So get Teron Armstead on the field, get Jalen Ramsey on the field, get your defense together. Until then, what you're just trying to do is figure out who can do what. And then, sometime in the next month, 4 weeks from now you put it together into a cohesive game plan. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do.
I agree with you, actually. I don't think what you're saying makes all the sense in the world, because if you look at the offense, even Tua and Tyreek told you they didn't really know the playbook last year. And that's because most players, they actually don't learn the playbook in their first year. It usually takes them a couple of years to really be comfortable, with the playbook. So I agree with you. I think there's a couple of factors. One, yes, players have got to learn the system. And then at the same time, Fangio has got to learn
right.
Figure that out. But the other part of the equation that I think is really the underlying problem of it all, dude, the defensive line ain't doing their job.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. Even the linebackers would be better if the D linemen actually did their job. And I don't know if Christian Wilkins is thinking too much about money and sacks, and he's just chasing sacks and not playing his game. But, Raekwon Davis and, you guys talked to the defensive coordinator, and we read all the quotes.
Yep.
So obviously he's not happy with all of that. And obviously we go Chubb, and we could talk about Phillips hasn't turned the corner that we're all expecting him to. Really, AVG is the only guy in that front 7 that is playing above what you would expect or need or anything along those lines. To me, that's the major problem. That front 7 is underachieving badly.
Well, Big O, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. And it's mind-boggling that AVG is your most productive guy in that front 7, because look, when this thing was put together, and as well as I do, you thought you had pressure from the front, mostly from Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb and Christian Wilkins in the middle, and then pressure on the back end would come from Jalen Ramsey and X and Cater. Well, Jalen Ramsey goes out, and then Christian holds out. And you heard what Vic Fangio said today. He said he thought that hold-in made Christian Wilkins start the season a little bit rusty, but he thinks that Christian is kind of up to speed now. But Big O, you bring up a good point on Christian. Now, he's got 19 tackles. He's on pace for 68, which would be a low total of the last 3 years. I think he had, 98 and 89 the last 2 years, whatever it is. But he's on pace for 5 sacks. He's got 1.5 sacks. I don't know if Christian is aware of those numbers. I don't know. It's interesting that twice in 5 games, Mike McDaniel has said the defensive players are not doing their 111. They're playing outside the system. They're trying to do too much. He never named a name. McDaniel never throws anybody under the bus, but I do wonder if Christian Wilkins is one of those guys that he was talking about there. And then just beyond that, it's been unsettled on the back end. Eli Apple is in the nickel, then Eli Apple is out of the nickel. Now Eli Apple is back in the nickel. And also today, Vic Fangio talked about David Long, that it doesn't sound like he's very impressed with David Long to this point. He hasn't given up on David Long, so let's not put that out there. But every time we ask about David Long, he says he's making progress. He's starting to correct the fundamental errors that he made. And that's kind of what they say about Sean Smith. Today, Sean Smith, we asked Fangio, he's knocking on the door. Well, dude, he's been knocking on the door for months, so he's not there yet. David Long is not there yet. The nickel is unsettled. The front seven hasn't produced. And you're right about Fangio. Fangio has got to take some responsibility here too. He's got to make the right calls. He's got to make the calls within the capabilities of his players. So it's an all-around thing, Big O. But you nailed it on AVG being the front seven guy. That just boggles my mind.
Well, I like what he said today, because I've been saying for 2 weeks now that AVG, I don't give a shit when Phillips comes back. Let Phillips and Chubb fight for their playing time. I'm starting AVG because AVG has outplayed everybody. And so AVG is my starter, and then Phillips and Chubb, they can settle and get the crumbs after that. They can fight to see who's the second guy and part of the rotation. But AVG right now for me, brother, he's starting, man. He's a werewolf. He reminds me of Clay Matthews, dude.
Yeah.
Kind of the way he plays. He even looks like him.
Yeah, he does. He got that flowing hair, baby. He's got that hair. Yeah, no, AVG, look, and a good guy too. Not that matters a whole lot, but he is a good guy too, and you like to see good things happen to good guys. So hats off to AVG, and hopefully that production continues.
Let's hope so, my brother. Are we going to get Chris Brooks this week? Because I'm thinking, man, you got Philly next week. Yeah, you'll give a chance. I mean, you'll give Ahmed and Wilson a couple carries because you got to get them acclimated into the offense and get them ready and all that for depth purposes. But man, Brooks would be a nice backup to Mostert this week.
Yeah, and I like what Brooks does both as a ball carrier and as a blocker, and they're getting them special team snaps. So, by the time he gets in the game, he's been warmed up a little bit. When he gets in from scrimmage, he's been warmed up a little bit by going through special teams. But the kid he's got reasonable speed. He's got reasonable power. I don't know if he has NFL staying power at this point. It's so early, but he is promising. That kid is promising, Big O. We saw him make the 95-yard run in training camp in the indoor facility. We saw, 52 yards against Denver. We saw him with the pancake block. Wasn't it that last week? The kid shows you something. He flashes almost all the time. You just can't ignore him. You just can't ignore him. And so I don't know if he's a viable red zone target. I don't know if he's a viable, if he can get in there on first down from the opponent's 25 at the start of the drive. But yeah, it's looking like you've got to find some ways to at least get this kid, 7 or 8 or 10 snaps from scrimmage, because especially red zone, because he can help you.
Hey, let me tell you something, Perk. You've been at this a long time. When you're a rookie and they're counting on you as a rookie running back to block, that's some big shit, dude.
Yep.
That's like some huge ass responsibility, because 99% of the running backs that come into the league, they know how to run the ball. More often than not, they can find the hole and all that, but picking up the right blockers, a lot of them fail at that, dude, and they get people injured and all that stuff. So that when you see them blocking like you saw last week, that tells you that staff is trusting the hell out of that young man too.
Yep. He's got some smarts. He's got some awareness, some knowledge, that's when you're out there blocking, you have to be able to adjust and think on your feet, because what if this guy isn't here? Now what do you do? So yeah, you're right. It shows a high level of trust from the coaches and a good amount of awareness and football knowledge on Chris Brooks' part. Look, Alec Ingold is one of the smartest guys on the team, and that's his job.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so last year I think in the media you might have been the only one that nailed the exact record for the Dolphins. I think.
No. I had 8 and 9.
Oh, you were off by a game? Oh,
I was
whatever.
off by a game.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, as you know, I was not popular at the start of the season, Big O.
No, I know. And listen, and by the way, you were helped because of a shitload of injuries. If not, they would have won more games. But so let's just call it like it is. But you were like one of the ones that was like pretty damn close to what ended up happening. So let's say the injuries aren't major, okay? Because obviously if they're major and it's your left tackle and your quarterback, you're screwed, okay? We all know that.
Yeah.
But let's just say if he continues to play the intelligent way that he's doing now, which is just marvelous, he can play for 15 years. But let's say he can stay healthy by playing this way, and the team is relatively healthy overall, because this has been my thing here for the last couple of weeks, because you've been around this like I have, and you've been on the beat a couple times, and you've seen different kinds of Dolphin teams.
Yep.
So this is what I'm trying, because the fan base got a little bit pissed off at me a week and a half ago with the Bills game, because I love this team.
Right.
I like their potential, but here's my problem with this. And this I talked a little bit about this before you came on. So for the last 30 something years, okay, Jimmy, you were good, but you weren't great.
Right.
With Wanstead, you were good
Mhm.
sometimes, but you were never great.
Yep.
You had that Jay Ajayi year. That was good.
Right.
It wasn't great. The Lamar Smith year was good. It wasn't great. The Wildcat year, it was good. It wasn't great. You're 3-0 going into Buffalo. Do you want to be great? You got to win that game. It's not, oh, well, we're now 3-0, because then I got we're still 3-1, and we win the next 2 weeks, we're 5-1. Yeah. And if you lose to Philadelphia and you're 5-2, then what does that mean? You're good again. You're not great. And so that, to me, is the threshold that this team needs to cross. I already know they're a good team. I know that barring injuries, they should win 10, 12 games.
Yep.
Barring injury,
Yep.
10, 12 games easy with this offense, okay?
Yep.
But I'm going to measure you with the 2 Bills games. I'm going to measure you with KC, and I'm going to measure you with Philadelphia next week. I'm not measuring you with Baltimore. You already own Baltimore the last 2 years. You already proven that bully, that's been solved. And the Dallas Cowboys are never a measuring stick for anyone, please. Okay? So those 4 games. So this is my trip now with them. I know you guys can be good. Can you be great? Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I agree probably about 95%. And, this was one of my big things in the offseason, Big O, is that these guys did not prove to me that they can consistently beat the teams. And, I caught some grief about that on social media, because I qualified it with playoff teams, that they were 2-6 last year against playoff teams. I think 2-4 with Tua as the starter. Games that he started and finished. So you take the Cincinnati game out of it. And people were saying, well, why are you putting this big stipulation on it? Playoff teams. I'm like, guess who you're going to play in the playoffs? Playoff teams. And you might have to win 1 or 2 of those games on the road. Right now they're going for the number 1 seed. We'll see if that holds up. But yeah, you're exactly right, Big O. Like, I gave them an A for the first 4 games of the season. I called that the first quarter of the season. Sure. I know it's a 17-game season. I did, and here's why, Big O. Here's why. That Chargers win is a quality win against a playoff team from last year that beat you pretty soundly. So you win that game on the road as your opener. That's good. You beat the Patriots. I know the Patriots are 1-4. That's an AFC East road game. I'm giving you credit for that. Denver, yeah, whatever.
Even though really we shouldn't, because Tua owns he's 4-0 or 5-0. We're
5-0.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're already past that already now.
Well, Big O.
You're being nice. You're being
nice.
Well,
no. They were 0-3 last year on the road in AFC East games. So I'm going to give them, if you beat the Jets, and I know last year you went up there and Teddy Bridgewater went out on the first play and you had
that game was over. That game.
Yeah, whatever. But the AFC East road games are always tough for the Dolphins.
Yes.
So I gave them an A for the first quarter of the season. But you're right. So now the second quarter, I'm going to consider this a 5-game quarter. And the Giants, Carolina, but you know what? You're right. It's this Philadelphia, Patriots, Kansas City streak, this stretch. This 3-game stretch here, and I know the Patriots are 1-4, and I know that's a home game, but it could also be a trap game. You got to keep your mind right. You got to stay focused. So you're exactly right. But I'll say this, Big O, it would be terribly disappointing. They need to go 1-1 against Philly and Kansas City. You're on the road at Philly, your neutral site, Kansas City. That's the Germany game. You need to go 1-1. But if they go 2-0, that is spectacular. If they go 0-2, it's troubling, but look, the stuff that happens right now, Big O, it very rarely does it have an effect in December, right? I mean, it's enticing and it tells you what happened last time or what happened in the past, but get me to December and it tells you how they can play. It tells you, what can the offensive line do in this situation? What can the nickel package do against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and all this? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to beat Baltimore and beat Dallas and beat Buffalo in the finale. So I agree with you again. For the most part, you've got to win, but you do have to win these games.
You got to win the games you're supposed to win. But I want to see you beat the teams that you're going to run into to win a Super Bowl, bro, to win the AFC Championship game. Right. And so, to me, brother, I need you to win 2 of the next 3. I need you to beat KC, Philly, and Buffalo. I need you to win 2 of those 3. If you can go 2-2 in those 4 games, I can feel really good about you going into the playoffs because now I've seen you compete with the elite and beat them. You know what I mean? Where normally you could never do that because that's the reason why every time the last 30 years, pretty much you've made the playoffs, you're just happy to be there and then you get eliminated, dude.
Right. And Big O, now I agree with you 100%. Like, this is a team that has realistic Super Bowl expectations, right?
Yeah.
Those previous right. Wannstedt's team didn't have that, and Gase and Philbin, you were just hoping to get into the playoffs. So I agree with you 100%. But tell me if you agree with me on this, that like Dave Hyde and a lot of people disagree with me on this. I think that right now the offense needs to carry 60 to 70% of the load, right? Yeah, because this defense is unsettled. This defense is unproven on the road. It's still trying to find its footing. And so I was saying in Buffalo, they cannot go up to Buffalo and score 20 points and blame it on the defense. Well, they allowed 48. Dude, you scored 29 in Buffalo last year with Tua, 31 without Tua, and now you're going to score 20 and you're a better team? No. That's unacceptable. So the offense has to do more. I'm not saying that they have to do everything, but until like Thanksgiving or whatever, they have to carry a disproportionate amount of the load.
1,000%, dude. I mean, they're the ones that are established.
Right. Right.
That's the side that everybody knows and everybody's comfortable with. You just added a defensive coordinator. We just went through this conversation. There's no way that they can carry. Plus, let's be honest, he doesn't have all the pieces he needs on defense. Right. That defense is not complete yet. And as you pointed out, until it gets healthy, really, until you get Ramsey back, then you can really play with that defense. Because once you have X and Ramsey out there, all of a sudden, and Holland now can worry more about the middle of the field and doesn't have to worry about the islands. Oh, shit. Now you can unleash the Kraken, and maybe it gets a lot better, you know what I mean, down the line. But I'll tell you, the answer, partial answer to your offensive stuff that you're talking about, his name is Mike McDaniel. And part of what I was talking about that we know you're good. Can you be great now? Okay. Mike McDaniel, I know you're one of the best offensive minds. Now, I need you to be a little bit better on a game day situation because what happened to you last year with the Chargers cannot happen again. It took you a year later to be able to stifle the Chargers. And then San Francisco followed up the next week and stifled you. Well, 2 weeks ago, Buffalo stifled you and you didn't have an answer. And so these are things that I also need. I know McDaniel's a great offensive mind, but I need him to respond a little faster in certain situations when you are getting stifled, and also the Buffalo game last year in the playoffs, that you weren't ready on that 3rd and short, and that put you into a difficult situation. So these are the little things that can the team take the next step to be great. And also, as much as I love Mike McDaniel, he still has to get slightly better as a game day coach.
100%, Big O. Listen, in the offseason, I said that my number one thing for this team, well, actually, the number one thing I was Tyreek staying healthy, and then Mike McDaniel improving as a coach, and then Tua staying healthy. And I know that sounds backwards, but listen, Mike McDaniel was a rookie coach last year. He has improved this year, but you're right, Big O. This Super Bowl window is pretty small before Tua starts making money. And right, you know the deal. And Christian Wilkins has got to get his money, and Jalen Phillips and Jalen Waddle and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, Mike McDaniel has got to accelerate his learning curve. And to his credit, it looks like he appreciates the run a lot more this year. The chain of command stuff, getting the play to the huddle, and that's improved. But Big O, 32 penalties. They're on pace for like 118 or whatever. And here's the other thing, Big O.
The pre-snap in the Buffalo game showed up really ugly, bro.
Yes, really ugly, Big O. And with penalties and kind of the miscues, you probably know Connor Williams has 4 holding penalties, 4 penalties. One that wipes out the H-An touchdown, another that takes back a 41-yard run by Mostert, and then the bad snap against the Chargers. I don't know if that's his fault or Tua's fault, but it wipes out a probable touchdown at the Tua.
I go with Connor on that one. You know why I say that? Did Tua ever have any problems with any other center? No. Not in college, not in the NFL. Yeah. It's on Connor.
Yeah.
And it's Tua being a teammate and taking a bullet like he always does, bro.
Right. So you've got the problem with Connor Williams, and then Liam Eichenberg. Oh
God.
But whatever. But then on the other side of the ball, X has 6 penalties, Big O. Yeah. 6 penalties. The Dolphins and these penalties and the stuff with Connor Williams and Xavier Howard has to settle down. By the way, the stuff that Sam Madison said today was pretty interesting about not having X shadow players and it's
not going to happen. It won't happen.
Right. Last year,
I was told it's not ever going to happen. It's not his style. He won't do it. Plus, here's what I was also told. I was told that he didn't trust everything else. Like if he would have put X to follow him around, he wouldn't have trusted that everybody else knew what they would have to do off of that, because it changes what you're going to do, because it's going to end up affecting what you do back there. It'll be more, the zone becomes a little bit more, it might become a little more mannish. It might be half zone, half man when you're doing that, and it just confuses it. And so he didn't want to do that because, again, they don't even know his system yet. Right. So is he going to then also now start throwing curves? He can't do it. He doesn't have people established at that point. So it'll never happen. They'll never follow anybody around.
Yeah, and you know what? And Fangio, who is pretty honest with us, also told us about that. It affects the guy on the other side because he's got to be comfortable moving. So that was a Cater Kohu reference there. And the other thing that Sam Madison told us was that, now they're noticing that X has fresh legs in the 4th quarter, that he hasn't been chasing some guy all over the field. And Sam was saying after the game, X is not in pain. He doesn't need ice packs all over him. And so, Sam Madison was saying that this is better for X, that this is preserving his body, that this is kind of the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. And he did throw in, but you never know what we're going to do. But I don't see it happening anytime soon. They're not going to shadow either Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown, I'll tell you that.
No. Now, when you get Ramsey back, is there a situation that you let loose the Kraken and those two guys run? Yeah, maybe you can do that because it's 2 monsters, and that's different, and you can unleash those guys. But I doubt it. You're not gonna have one guy shadowing, because then it just changes everything else, and it just becomes a real issue overall. We can get past the offensive line stuff now, right? Because Austin Jackson and Hunt were the hits. Looks like it now. Eichenberg looks like he was the miss. And then you look at all the other decisions whether it's finding Shell last year and Robert Jones filling in, and now this year with Kendall Lamb and Wynn and all that.
Yeah.
Overall, the whole perception of they can't build a line or can't find linemen, well, that's kind of changed now that you actually have the real teachers in place.
Yeah, you know what? Oh, and I always say this about football, whether it's college, NFL, whatever, you've got to combine player with system with coach. And it appears that this offensive line has that now. That the system fits them, and Butch Berry fits them, and everything seems to fit. That yes, Connor Williams is your center, and Robert Hunt is your right guard, and Isaiah Wynn at your left guard, and Austin Jackson. And matter of fact, I talked to 3 of those linemen today, to Wynn, to Jackson, and to Kendall Lamb, who Kendall Lamb is one of my favorites on the team, just a veteran. I always gravitate toward the vets. John Jenkins was one of my guys last year, and Kendall Lamb, I just love a seasoned veteran. And he was talking about just, kind of the reason that you play on the offensive line, and you do it for the guys on the line, and you do it to keep the quarterback upright. But it's just such a different bond among offensive linemen. And so it does look like they finally got it. And look, Big O, I thought their offensive line depth was pretty good last year. You mentioned Brandon Shell. The unit wasn't as productive, but I thought they did find some decent answers on that.
They were serviceable. They were serviceable.
Right, serviceable. Exactly.
Tua wasn't running for his life last year, and the running backs averaged 4.5 yards a carry. I mean, they weren't that bad last year. Now this year, everybody's more comfortable. They're used to it. They're much better this year, and the find of Lamb and Wynn has been wow, phenomenal, dude.
Yes, that's depth right there, and they have done a good job for definitely the last 2 years on finding good to serviceable backups. Look, it's hard enough finding a good starting 5, right? You're probably going to have 1 or 2 weaknesses, but to be able to go 6 or 7 deep and of serviceable guys. Hats off to the Dolphins, to the front office, to Chris Greer, to Mike McDaniel, Butch Berry, to all of those guys, because that is not an easy thing to do.
What do you got going on in the Sun Sentinel so fans can check you out, my man?
Well, today's column, which is already out, is kind of what we were talking about. We know that the 2023 Dolphins are better than last year. We just don't know how good they are yet. So that's what I've got out there right now. And look, you know what? Oh, I'm totally disregarding and disrespecting Carolina. I know they've got Brian Burns out there. I know, but I have looked all the way to Philly, Big O. I have not.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. These
2 weeks
are garbage. These 2 weeks are garbage. These 2 weeks you're supposed to take care of business is what's supposed to happen. Right. And then let's get ready for Philadelphia, because if you win that game, that starts to make you look a lot better, dude.
There you go. There you go. So that's what these 2 weeks are. Last week was good for the Dolphins. The Achane injury was the bummer last week, obviously. Yeah, exactly. That was because I thought they came out of that game clean, and in the locker room after the game, Achane is talking to us. He doesn't have an ice pack on his knee or anything. So that was the bummer. But the last week, aside from that, that was a good, clean game for the most part. You got your 7 sacks, all that kind of stuff, padded your stats. Hopefully they do the same this week. But the key is, well, you want to win, but you want to come out healthy, right? That's the whole point. And play a crisp, efficient game, but you want to come out healthy.
Amen. All right, follow him on Twitter at Chris Perk. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Perk, as always, man, appreciate you taking some time and dropping some knowledge. We will,
always, Big O.
We'll catch up down the line, my friend. Appreciate you.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. There you go, Chris Perkins from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Chris Perk, and you subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel. We thank Chris Perkins.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.